Welcome back to another class on Evean Hazaer Halacha series. We are in Siman Aleph. In Halacha Yud, in the Pitchit Teshuvah Od Tetvav, in the Berhetev and Od Chav Aleph. Today we want to see a very unique case. I'm going to tell you outside and I'm going to read it for you inside and we'll come back to the whiteboard. Berhetev is going to bring down a situation where we have a person by the name of Reuven who is only 11 years old, meaning he's a minor. And he has a brother by the name of Shimon who's 20 years old. Shimon is married to Leah. Leah doesn't have children with Shimon. Shimon unfortunately dies. Leah becomes bound to Reuven. A year later, they propose a shidduch, a marriage for Reuven to Sarah. We want to see when Reuven is going to get older, when he's going to be 13 years old, can he marry Sarah even though Leah is bound to him? That's what we're going to see. Now I want to just show you something. Since Reuven is a minor, he doesn't have any power of authority to go ahead and do chalitza to Leah now. So really he has to wait until he's 13 years old. But the problem with our case at hand is that this boy did turn 13 years old. However, he didn't have two pubic hairs. So if he still doesn't have two pubic hairs, he's not fully mature. So now still he cannot do chalitza. But the problem is we're going to see that the girl's father is going to want Reuven to marry Sarah. But we're going to have a very big difficulty now. Are we going to say that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable in this case or not? Because remember, since Leah falls to him as a Yivama, she came to him first. She's tied to him now. But the problem is he can't do chalitza because he's a minor. Then they went ahead and they did a shidduch to Sarah. Now when he's 13 and he does have two pubic hairs, he wants to marry Sarah. But he still didn't do chalitza to Leah because he can't do it because he's not fully mature. Are we going to allow him to marry Sarah? And eventually when he's going to become mature, he's going to divorce Leah? Or are we going to tell him, no, it's asur? Why? Because he's transgressing the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom by having two wives. This is what we want to see, Be'ezrat Hashem B'lineder. So the Berhetev begins. Katan shenafla lo yivama. If we had a katan, a minor, that a yivama fell to him. Here, katan shenafla lo yivama. A minor that a yivama fell to him. In this case, it's Leah that fell to Reuven. She's bound to him. Ube'odenu katan, while Reuven is still a katan, while he's still a minor, 12 years old, nishtadech lebat zugo. They did a shidduch, they proposed a match to his future spouse, which we're going to call her Sarah. Uke'edu ben yud gimel, and now he's 13 years old. Uke'edu ben yud gimel shanim, and now he's 13 years old. V'yom echad, and one day, v'lo hivi beit sa'arot, and he did not bring two pubic hairs. Right over here. Right now he's 13 years old, and one day, and he did not bring two hairs. Now I want to just share with you something. Whenever you see the language of 13 years old and one day, it doesn't mean he has to be 13 years old plus one day. Since our day starts at night, once he turns 13 on that night of his birthday, 1 second after the stars come out, that's considered to be one day. You don't have to wait a full day. That's once the 13th year goes into the beginning of the 14th year, that's considered to be 13 years in one day. One more time. Whenever you use the language of 13 years in one day, it doesn't mean 13 years plus one day, but rather what it means is once he turns 13 in the evening, once it becomes dark, 1 second into his 14th year, that's considered to be already one day. But he doesn't have to wait 24 hours to be an adult. No, 13 years in one day. Like we explained, it's even 1 second into the evening of his 13th birthday, into the 14th year, automatically we're going to tell you that that's called 13 years and 1 day. However, the problem over here is he did not bring 2 hairs. Since he did not bring 2 hairs, he's still not able to go ahead and do chalitza to Leah. But the problem is, the Beit is going to bring down, the girl's father said, Siman Anushin Higia. The girl's father said that the time of the marriage came, because that was on the proposed marriage. That was the arrangement that they made. A year from today, they're going to get married. So let's see that inside. And now he's 13 years old, and 1 day, and he did not bring 2 pubic hairs. And the time for marriage came. And the girl's father wants to marry his daughter to him, like the conditions that were set out on the proposed marriage. Here's the question. Are we going to refrain, are we going to hold Reuven back from marrying Sarah, who is the proposed match, because of Leah? Over here the Beit is telling us, because of the Chemra of Rabbeinu Gershom. Because remember, by Reuven marrying Sarah, Leah came first. So she's really bound to him. If she's bound to him and he cannot do chalitza, by marrying Sarah, it comes out that he's going to have 2 wives. So therefore, maybe we're going to say, Reuven, wait until you become fully mature. Let's say when you're going to have 2 hairs, then you're going to do chalitza to Leah, then you could marry Sarah. Or are we going to say, no, let Reuven go ahead and marry Sarah. Eventually, when he's going to have 2 hairs, then he'll divorce Leah. Because I'm not really concerned for the Chemra of Rabbeinu Gershom. So one more time. Im yesh limnoa biglal cherem. Are we going to hold him back because of the Chemra of Rabbeinu Gershom not to marry Sarah until he does the chalitza to Leah? That is going to be the question we want to take on today. So one more time. Ha'im yesh limnoa lisam mishudechet mikol Chemra of Rabbeinu Gershom. Should we hold him back? Should we hold Reuven back from marrying Sarah because of the Chemra of Rabbeinu Gershom, since he already has Leah, the Yivamah, bound to him? Now, before he's going to answer the question, we're going to move on to the next section of the piece. Now, Rabotai, I don't know how many of you guys are following in order as we're going, but if you're not, I don't expect this to be easy, but if you are, it will be simple. The Be'etiv says, even though the Mechaber wrote, Ba'ayivama lo hichrim. If you guys remember in the Shulchan Aruch said that by Yivama there is no cherem. We're speaking about a situation where the person wants to go out and he wants to marry the Yivama on his married wife. But which wouldn't be the case, excuse me, but which wouldn't be the case, where he wants to marry on the Yivama which is bound to him. Now I gotta explain this. So let me explain this 1 second. Okay. Now you have to recall what the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Aleph in Halacha Yud said. That when it came to the Chemra Rabbeinu Gershom, he said it's not applicable by a Yivama. So you might ask yourself right now, or you might say to yourself, there you go, there's no cherem by a Yivama. Since there is no cherem by a Yivama, so what's the question with Reuven and Sarah? Let Reuven marry Sarah, because there's no cherem by a Yivama. Leah is the Yivama, so therefore if there's no cherem by a Yivama, let Reuven get married to Sarah. That's what you might say. But there is a difference in the case. And this is, Rabotai, what it means to be able to learn. This is why it's very important to learn in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, to be able to make this diyukim. Look what the Be'etiv says. Maybe the 2 cases are not comparable. Maybe really, I'll tell you over here, by Reuven's case, over here in this case, where the Yivama came first, if you can say I put it step number 1, and then the shidduch came next, which is step number 2, maybe I could tell you that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable by the Yivama. It's applicable. Why? Where did the Shulchan Aruch say specifically that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable? It is specifically if he's already married. He's 100% married. Over here, the guy's not married. Nothing happened yet. Who came first? Leah came first. Then Sarah came. But in this case, he was already married, and then the Yivama fell to him. So one more time. The Shulchan Aruch says, by Yivama lo hichrim, by the Yivama, the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable. So you would say, let Reuven marry Sarah. What's the problem? No, you can't say it. Why? When did the Shulchan Aruch say that Yivama, there's no cherem, zedavka im kvar haya nasui? That is specifically if he was already married 100%. So that's why there's no Chen Rabbeinu, that's why there's no Chen Rabbeinu Gershom and the Yivama, and he's allowed to marry her. Masha Enke, but which wouldn't be the case so in our situation. Berotel Lisa, he only wants to get married now to Sarah. Al Yivamta Zikuka, and the Yivama which is bound to him prior to Sarah. I want to show you something. Rabotai, I hope you're getting it. I want to show you something. I made over two chart. It might look like a soup, but it's not. I want to show you something. I have over here two cases. I want to show you. Watch this. I have over here two cases. Understand like this. This is, right, this is case 1, this is case 2. You know something? Shh, let's do this. Case number 1 is what the Shulchan Aruch spoke about, and I'm going to tell you what the case is. You know, if you ever saw that there's certain books, I don't have it with me right now over here, and I took it to my class. There's certain books that when they draw out, when they give you all these details, when you look at it, you don't understand it. But when you go with the Gemara or the Shulchan Aruch or the Rashi, start reading into it, you'll be able to put everything together. Same thing over here. It looks messy, but it's really not. Because I go step by step, and that's how all this comes about. Now, case number 1. Whether the Shulchan Aruch said by the Yivama, the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable, this is where. Reuven, who's 20 years old, he's married to Sarah. Nisu'in, he's fully married. He has a brother by the name of Shimon, who's 24 years old. Shimon has a wife by the name of Leah. Shimon dies without children. Leah falls to Reuven. Over here, I'm going to tell you that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable. But maybe in this case, I can't say the same. Why? Because Reuven, who's a minor over here, who had a brother by the name of Shimon, who was 20 years old, who was also married to Leah, when Shimon dies and Leah falls to him, you have a problem over here. Over here, it's Reuven got married, step 1. Then Shimon's died, so Leah falls to him. That is step 2. So then we're going to tell that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable in such a situation. But maybe in such a situation where it's Reuven, who's a minor, has a brother who's Shimon, 20 years old, where he dies and Leah falls to him, she's bound to him now, she's tied to him, he has no chalitza, but he can't. Step 1. But she's really bound to him. Then they go and they do the shidduch, which is step 2. Maybe I'll tell you that there is the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom on a Yivama, because she came first, and only then did he do the shidduch. He's still not even married over here. So this is what the Beit is bringing down. Case 1, I can tell you that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable, because he's fully married. But case 2, first of all, she came first, the Yivama came first. Then the Mishudecha, then the proposed marriage came second. But he's still not married, so maybe in such a case, the Shulchan Aruch will tell you that the case of that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable. So maybe Reuven is not allowed to go ahead and get married to Sarah. Okay, now we are moving forward. Let me read this inside one more time for us. Here we go. Should we hold Reuven back from marrying the proposed marriage because of the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom, like I explained. So now he goes and he explains everything what I just said up to now. This whole difference between step 1 and step 2. Even though the Mechaber wrote, when it comes to Yevama, they never made the Cherem by Yevama, they never made a Cherem. When is that? Hainu, that is, Berotzel Yabem al Ishto HaNisu'ah, where he wants to go and he wants to do Yibum, he wants to marry the Yevama on his wife that's already married to him. Masha'enkin, but which wouldn't be the case in our situation. Step case number 2. Berotzel Lisa, where he wants to marry Al Yivamto Zikuka, and the Yivama that's already bound to him. Maybe over there you can say the same thing. So one more time, when can we say that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable on the Yivama? That's only on the guy who's already married. But if he's still not married and she fell first on him, why would I think that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is not applicable? Maybe over there the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable. Reuven shouldn't be allowed to marry Sarah. That is the question. Rabbi say, I hope you guys get it. If not, just go back, re-listen, redo it one more time. Remember, guys, this is probably my 10th review. Right? Remember, I learned with a Talmud Chacham, and afterwards I come back and have to review it. Again, I have to write it, I have to practice, again, I have to review it. So don't think I just get it in one shot. This takes about time because you see that everything is going back and forth. You have to know the previous cases. So you have to do chazarot. All right, anyway, if you didn't get it, please go back and re-listen. Hopefully you understand the question. Now, but in my humble opinion, I think the way I'm explaining, that's why I use the blackboard, meaning the whiteboard, to be able to make it easier, to simplify the learning, okay? That's why I use the whiteboard for that reason. So I think you guys are able to get it. Now, what's going to be the halacha? What are we looking at? What are you guys going to paskin? If you guys were the dayanim, the chachamim, what would you guys paskin in this situation? Maybe I can tell you when the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom made a Pesach Halacha, maybe I can tell you when the Shulchan Aruch said, B'yevama lo chichrim, right? We're making that difference now between case 1 and case 2. But maybe when the Shulchan Aruch said, B'yevama lo chichrim, I don't care which Yevama. I mean, yeah, over there specific on the Nesu'ah, but who said? Maybe it could be any Yevama. So maybe over here, he should be allowed to get married. In any event, Rabotai, this is the beauty of learning Torah. You can go back and forth like this, and this is how people, and this is how Gedolim Paskin Halachot, every little word can change the whole halacha, the way you understand, the way you, whatever. There's much to go into it. In any event, Rabotai, what's going to be the halacha? Pasak Hacham Tzvi. The Chacham Tzvi, he made a Pasak halacha, She'ela Kuf Tet Zayin. In question 116, Dimutar Lisa Mishuduchato. He's allowed to marry the proposed marriage girl, meaning Reuven is allowed to marry Sarah. Kodem sheyachlot hayivama, before he's going to do chalitza with the yivama. Ve'en bezeh mishum Chen Rabbeinu Gershom, and you don't have over here the whole problem with the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom. Rabotai, listen to this very carefully. Chacham Tzvi Amar, Chacham Tzvi said, Mutar. You're allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to get married, and eventually when he's going to have 2 pubic hairs, when he's going to be fully mature, then we're going to tell him you're allowed to go ahead and release the Yivama, which in this case is Leah. So one more time. Pasak Chacham Tzvi She'ela Kuftet Zayin. The Chacham Tzvi made a Pasak Halacha and She'ela Kuftet Zayin. The Mutar Lisam Mishuduchato. He's allowed to go ahead and marry the proposed marriage girl. In this case, it's Sarah. Kodem Sheyachlot Yivama, before he's going to do chalitza with the Yivama. Ve'en bezeh mishum Chen Rabbeinu Gershom, and you don't have over here the whole problem of the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom. Now comes the Chacham Tzvi and he tells you even something stronger. Now he tells you like this. Afilu lerama. Here we go. Let me read it to you and I'm going to go back into this now. It's a new piece. Va'afilu lerama de pasak de noheg b'makom mitzvah. Even according to the Rama where he said that the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable even in a place where there's a mitzvah. Even in a place where there is yibum, like in our case, there is the Chen Rabbeinu Gershom. V'tzarich lachlot, and he said to her clearly in the Ramah, you do need to do chalitza. Do you know when the Ramah said that you need to do chalitza? Comes Chacham Tzvi and he tells you, Ha'inu b'yachol lachlot. Even according to the Ramah where he says, even according to the Ramah where he said by Yivama, you also need to do chalitza. You can't first get married because the Churban B'nai Gershom is applicable. That is specifically where you are able to go ahead and do the chalitza, meaning you are mature enough, you have that power. Aval oines ki haka, but an oines where the situation is out of his control, like in our situation, lo, he never spoke about it. Ayin Shami says, look over there, Ayin Od Siman Kuf Yudal, look furthermore in Siman Kuf Yudalid. Now Rabotai, what is going on over here? Let me explain this. If you guys remember, in the Ramah, in Siman Alv in Halacha Yud, the Ramah says, Amnam, however, Yesh Cholkim, there are those that disagree, Usvir Lehu, and they hold, the Cherem Rabbeinu Gershom noheg afilu b'makom mitzvah. That the Cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable even in a place where there's a mitzvah. Va'afilu b'makom yibum. That the Cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom is applicable even in a place of yibum. V'tzarich lachlot. And you do need to do chalitza. So it comes out of here, the Chacham Tzvi is telling you, according to the Ramah, it's implied that Reuven is not going to be able to get married to Sarah because the Cherem B'nai Gershom is applicable by Yivama, and you first need to do chalitza. He said, I'll tell you what that means. He tells you, when it says, I feel b'makom mitzvah, I feel b'makom yibum, you need to do the chalitza tzarich lachlot, because you have the Cherem B'nai Gershom, and you cannot get married to another woman. You know what this means, tzarich lachlot? He wants to say, yachol lachlot, where you are able to do chalitza, where you are old enough, you are mature, 13 years old, one day and 2 hairs. But in this situation, what do you want the boy to do? What do you want Reuven to do? He's 13 years old, one day, it's out of his situation. What do you want to blame him that he doesn't have 2 hairs, or what do you want? So in this situation, we're going to tell you, even the Ramah is going to agree that he's allowed to go ahead and get married. Reuven's allowed to marry Sarah. Eventually, when he's going to get the 2 hairs, then he's going to go ahead and he's going to do chalitza to Leah.